Adventures in Oddity.
You are a karmic entity. But the infinite universe stands always before your eyes. Move you. Move you in its own unique way, but also keep opening you. So be very generous in your opening to methods, because if you bring to them a pure heart and a yearning to be free, they will serve you in that way. Move you. Move you. Use them for power, you get power, and then you're stuck with the power. And if you use them to reinforce your separateness, you get left in your separateness. And what we are doing is we're reviewing how we can look at our life experience, move you in a way that liberates us from suffering and liberates those with whom we come in contact from suffering. Move you. And you'd say, well, that's a negative way of looking at it. You could say, we are learning how to be happy with what is. With what is. Move you. And the flip that occurs that we're really working with is to figure out how to move you, enjoy the unfolding storyline of your life without being trapped by it, how to delight in it, how to enjoy the play of the uniqueness of each form and how it works and how you interplay and interact. Without being trapped in the narrowness of it. I have watched again and again in this society, people get defined into a role and they start to be scrunched up into that role, and that role traps them. For a child to see their mother as a friend, not a mother. For a prisoner and a guard to see each other as fellow human beings instead of just prisoner and guard. Fellow human being. There are how many roles we get trapped in. And when the role has a lot of symbolic power to it, we get very trapped in it. Like wealth or beauty or something. And fellow human being, some uniqueness, positive or negative. We start to be so identified with our symbolic value and the role we're in, fellow human being, that people can't, we starve to death because we're trapped. It's like wearing an outfit that's so flamboyant that everybody responds to the outfit and nobody notices you. fellow human being. I meet many people who are so trapped in their roles, trapped in their symbolic value within society. And we all present ourselves symbolically. We all project who we think we are in the clothes we wear, in the way we walk, in the way we look at other people. That's all the image we have of ourselves projected outward. Fellow human being. Sometimes that's very, very strong. You're so busy being somebody that everybody reacts to your somebodyness. And nobody reacts to your nobodyness. Fellow human being. Nobody reacts to the part of you that's the I, not the me. And so it's interesting to learn in this lifetime how to inhabit roles like them. How to inhabit them with love and with joy and with passion and with emptiness. How to delight in the game, in the dance, in the leela, in the play. And begin to see your life experiences as grace, as a set of opportunities through which you can become free. They were handed to you. And the unique, it's bizarre to get to the realization that there are no errors. 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 That the ones that have been handed to you were tailor-made for you. All of your neuroses and your sorrows and your problems and life's all the stuff, no error. Would you just conceive of that possibility for a moment? You have to buy in. I mean, that's my sugar to business. Just conceive of it for a moment, that there are no errors. In the sense that you as a soul are a karmic entity. You are a karmic entity. You are a karmic entity. And that karmic entity, using senses, using forms, creates out of the stuff of the universe those forms through which its attachments and aversions create. You are a karmic entity. Through which it interacts in order, in the awakening phase, to go beyond the attractions and the aversions. In other words, to get free of your attractions and aversions, you got to get them to manifest, to deal with them. And then you deal with them without juicing them up with intention, but just being. This is very weird, very dense stuff. But it's really tasty. It's tasty. Because you begin to look at your life, the curriculum that's unfolding. The fun for me, like, because I play with my guru, who's a dead guru. I mean, he's an illusion. He's my imaginary playmate. I mean, if you're going to have an imaginary playmate, pick one that is wise, funny, a rascal, cosmic giggle, and very loving. And dead is really helpful. So I hang out and so what comes towards me is in the game he and I play, what he's laying on me to free me. Now that's real crazy. Well, what do you got in store for me today? Well, look at this one. So. I mean, there are wonderful little lessons in my life along the way. And I just experience my life as an unfolding curriculum. Now, Maharaji has Sam Maharaji, Neem Karoli Baba didn't say, well, in 1995, he will have this happen. Not that one. It is merely the dialogue between the ego, the soul, and awareness. An inner dialogue, though, in which out of awareness these phenomena are manifesting and dissolving. And the soul is, these are, which particular ones are attended to or noticed is the soul's karmic determination. And then how you live within it is the ego's game. And by the way, just to clean up so that I don't get, I don't overstep bounds here, there are many, 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 many other planes of consciousness. I mean, those of you who've studied any of the literature about astral and causal planes, and all the planes that Sri Aurobindo talks about, the overmind and so on and so forth. You're dealing with something that is not conceptual, all these planes. And you're imposing some conceptual structure to define the differences between the chakras deal with planes of consciousness. So the soul is not only doing work on this plane, but is doing work on a lot of other planes as well. Karma is being run through. So a lot of your dreams which may not make sense on this plane, have function. It's like your soul's dreaming. And then you wake up and you remember a little bit, and the ego tries to figure out what it's about. But it's really the soul's business. That's fun. I mean, just using soul life in that way. As every Buddhist knows, it ultimately dissolves. It's just a step on a ladder you use in order to extricate yourself from the ego. And be careful, the word extrication does not mean dissociation or denial. It does not mean pushing away. It means breaking the identity with. So I can say it's my MG and be identified with the MG, or I can say, I love it, it's a wonderful car, I take care of it, and I certainly enjoy driving it, it's an MG. And I can say it's a body. I love it, I enjoy it, I'm working with it, I'm doing the best I can with it. It is slowly decaying, it's probably going to decay and die, I assume. No reason not to think it's not going. And the interesting question is, how do I manage that temple? Temple of consciousness. How do I take care of my body? How do I do it without being trapped by taking care of it? Temple of consciousness. Well, watch that the minute you get something wrong with you, your consciousness will narrow. If you're not very careful until you're busy being your symptom. And the caricature of all the old folks sitting on the bench in St. Petersburg or in Arizona having their morning organ recital describing temple of consciousness. And the minute you start to cultivate these techniques of mindfulness, you begin to see the game that you're playing, the life you're living, the way it's unfolding, the roles you're in. And you listen more deeply into your life so that you hear what roles are, what you'll learn is temple of consciousness. That you have a unique karmic predicament, and that will manifest in certain ways at each moment. And to the extent that you push against the manifestation, it takes a lot of juice. To the extent you cling to the manifestation, it takes a lot of juice. And ultimately, what you're doing is dancing deeply but lightly. There's no clinging. Statement, hold on tightly, let go lightly. Be in it, but don't cling. And to separate, it's interesting because when we love somebody, we want to possess them. We want more of them. We want to collect. We keep wanting to hold it. And we keep getting all of these old, moldering, dead butterflies in our collection. You know, old loves that were a moment of love, and then we destroyed it through possessing it. And the letting go, and letting go, and letting go, holding tightly, letting go. Holding tightly of your interpretation of the moment and letting go. Like, what is this moment? There are dozens of ways that this is. Letting go, and letting go, and letting go. Temple of consciousness. Letting go, and letting go, and letting go. Temple of consciousness. Temple of consciousness. Temple of consciousness. Letting go, and letting go, and letting go. Hundreds of ways. If each person defined this moment, we would find it in each of our unique way. And yet we are sharing a moment. And if you get into this, my take, and this is the only reality. I work a lot with what's in your booklet, the third Chinese patriarchal Zen. And I just take phrases. I mean, I always work with the first phrases, which you've all heard. The great way is not difficult for those who have no preferences. You think about all the preferences you have. Letting go, and letting go, and letting go. Color, food, people, places, comforts, experiences. Think of them, think of thousands. You're a sea of opinions and prejudices and attitudes and wants and dislikes and so on. And think of how many times you've gotten caught in that, of being a person with an opinion. And feel how contracting that is. And you say, but I've got to have opinions. I mean, how will I know whether to walk across the street or not? Now can you think about having opinions and not having opinions? Stretch your mind a little bit to allow for the possibility that you can functionally have opinions, but that you are not trapped by them. Letting go, and letting go, and letting go. That you're lightly in them. Yeah, sure. You say to me, I say, gee, it's cold in here, could we warm it up? But I'm not spending the rest of the day having been cold all of this then. I don't hold it. Now new moment. 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 Here are just two of the phrases and stanzas. Now new moment. Now new moment. With a single stroke, we are freed from bondage. Nothing clings to us, and we hold nothing. All is empty, clear, self-illuminated. Now new moment. Third plane, awareness. Clear, illuminating, present. Now new moment. Sees the soul unfolding its karma, sees the ego at work. Awareness doesn't see it, it bees it. It's all within it. All is empty, clear, and self-illuminating with no exertion of the mind's power. You don't have to think about it. Just rest in it. Now new moment. Here, thought, feeling, knowledge, and imagination are of no value. Now new moment. In this world of suchness, there is neither self nor other than self. Now you can take just those lines and work with them for a whole year. Believe me, these are methods we're talking about. They're methods for stretching your consciousness so that you allow yourself to inhabit the fullness of your being, which is ego and soul and awareness. Now new moment. Now new moment. Now there's just a few lines in the next one I want to read. To come directly into harmony with this reality. Now it's describing another method. Just simply say when doubts arise, not to. Not to. In this not to, nothing is separate. Nothing is excluded. No matter when or where, enlightenment means entering this truth. Now new moment. Now new moment. Finally, emptiness here, emptiness there, but the infinite universe stands always before your eyes. Now new moment. All here is the quality of emptiness, in which if you go back in your mind far enough behind the me and the I and what the senses are telling you, just keep drawing the awareness back. What you come into is just empty presence. And yet all the phenomena are here. But the mind isn't grabbing at the phenomena. It's not clinging, it's not avoiding, it's not pulling, it's not pushing. It's not coming, it's not going. It's just another moment. Now new moment. Maharaj used to say to me, Ram Dass, you shouldn't be with people very much. You should be alone. You should take your food alone, you should eat alone, you should be alone. So I went back to the hotel where all of the devotees, the Western devotees, were hanging out. And I put a sign up at my door that said, do not disturb. And I stayed in my room. 2 days later, a couple that was with us had a fight during the night. The next morning, they were with Maharaji, and Maharaji said, you were fighting? And they said, yes. And he said, when were you fighting? And they said, during the night. Well, did you go to Ram Dass? No, he had a sign on his door saying, do not disturb. You didn't go to Ram Dass? He wasn't there for you? And he looked at me with disgust. And I was about to say to him, but Maharaji, you said I was supposed to be alone. But in those conflicting messages, I found a message. Because at first you have to be alone by pulling back from people. But you understand what the game is. Finally, the game is to be with people, yet always be alone. Now, how many of you take the feeling of aloneness and feel it as pathology? Have you ever thought of flipping it around? Just that little flip. There's an incredible line about the nature of the potential of relationships. Beautiful quote from the I Ching. And it's one of my favorite quotes to use at wedding. The Master said, life leads the thoughtful person on a path of many windings. Now the course is checked, now it runs straight again. Here winged thoughts may pour freely forth in words, but there the heavy burden of knowledge must be shut away in silence. But when two people are at one in their inmost hearts, they shatter even the strength of iron or of bronze. And when two people understand each other in their inmost hearts, their words are sweet and strong, like the fragrance of orchids. Now we're talking about souls hanging out together. Souls who don't need anything from each other. They both are just watching the unfolding. The unfolding on the ego level may involve their interaction, the roles through which they interact. But the souls are just sharing a delight in the unfolding of the dance. At certain stages in the journey, if you have a choice, it's wonderful to have other beings around you. Sometimes called the satsang or the sangha, a community of other beings are gathered in this room that recognize what the journey or the curriculum is about that we are born into. And they help you. We help each other. And it's a very precious thing to have other people you meet and know that are journeying that. And it's interesting to examine the contracts we make with fellow human beings. Because most of the relationships we enter into are at the ego level, in which I am somebody and I enter into a contract with you as somebody. And usually the nature of the contract is, I won't bug your somebodyness if you don't bug mine. I'll allow you to be who you think you are if you'll allow me to be who I think I am. Basically is what we're saying with each other. The difference is that when you meet with satsang, you say, I am trapped in thinking I'm somebody. You are trapped. Could we help each other get free? Now, the peculiar circumstance is, when you make that contract with somebody and they come up and say, you're trapped, wake up. You say, you're trapped. What do you know about it? Because when somebody is trapped, they are trapped, meaning they think it's real. And in their reality, your criticism is seen as a criticism, not as a helpful hint. So if you're going to enter into the relation of sangha or satsang with somebody, you've got to realize that truth is a little scary to live with. It's much better to live with truth, however, than with the kind of numbing deception of all of us making believe a reality is real. I mean, when you look at the way, the violence that consistency has done to your truth, it's staggering. It's when you understand that you move in and out of all these different levels. Like Maharaji, when I was with him, he'd just be floating around in levels. I remember once he said, he looked at, he just came out of trance. He says, all the money in the world is mine. It's a great line, isn't it? I mean, I try to think of the ramifications of that. And the Pope thought he had something. All the money in the world is mine. And then a few minutes later, he's just, I can do nothing. God does everything. Now, at one level, it's just like the Anandamayi Ma quotes yesterday. One of them is, I serve my husband as if they were God. That's a dualistic devotional practice, or path, or statement in dualism. In dualism, you spend your time loving the beloved. In non-dualism, you are the beloved. You exist on both planes. How do you train your awareness so that it doesn't get trapped in one plane and then cut off your access to the other plane? That's what the issue is. And you begin to see how your definitions of yourself keep trapping you. Let alone the projections that you have to other people, let alone their projections on you. So you and I live in a sea of projective systems. Some of which are coming out of our own desires, needs, fears, attractions, aversions, preferences, prejudices. And some of which are coming from everybody else's. And the question of how do you dance through all that without ending up completely caught in it, especially when the ones coming out of you and the ones coming out of them say the same thing. That's a real conspiracy. See, the predicament is as you awaken, you realize you have been the perpetrator of the conspiracy you got caught in. It's not real paranoia. It's not like they did it to me. They've got this terrible conspiracy. You're it. You are it. We are it. We are the conspiracy. And the interesting question is, when you extricate your awareness from being part of the conspiracy, what happens? If you're just doing it in a half-baked way at first, you're busy telling everybody you've gotten free of the conspiracy, and then they usually imprison you somewhere because you don't get free of the conspiracy. But a mature person isn't in the conspiracy and is not in the conspiracy even to the point of putting down the conspiracy. They're just not in the conspiracy. And then they're living in a different universe. And therefore their being is free of that conceptual homogeneous field. And that freedom is what they offer to another human being who frees them. And it's as if we all meet through our prison cells. Hi in there. What's it like? Do you know how to get out? No, do you? Omani Padmeo. see the maturity of being able to extricate your awareness from entrapment in role, and then and without violence, and fulfilling the roles at the same time, but fulfilling them from a different place. When I took care of Dad, my father, during the last years of his life, when I first started to take care of him, as I've told you before, I did it so much out of righteousness. I mean, I was giving up something to go and make my apartment in the basement of his house and do that as my base camp. Because at 50 years old, to go back to being Richard in a house with somebody else's father. When I wasn't even Ramdas in the house. Very schizophrenic. And I was righteous. I was milking him. And people would say, aren't you good taking care of your father? And I'd say, well, somebody has to do it. And I just get what I could out of it, But any tack you take with your mind gets boring after a while. I mean, you can only milk righteousness so many changing of hampers, so many feeding of food, and so many, I'm righteously helping you down the steps. I'm righteously, You get bored with any trip. They're all too finite. Any definite, I'm your mother. So then I moved into another one. I thought that one fell away, and I decided my father was Karma Yoga. So I was using my father to get enlightened for the benefit of all people. And I didn't necessarily have to tell him that, but basically that's what it was. I'm helping you with non-attachment. Now we are moving here with non-attachment. All Monday, February, yes. I was really Hakka Yogi. Serving my father. And that got boring after a while. And it just kept arriving at different levels of being together until finally the mind trips were gone. The archetypal storylines were dissolving. And all there was he was being and I was being, and the nature of the way of things in the karmic unfolding of our lives as father, child, at this stage in our lives had this particular dynamic going, in which that was the part that awareness played through him, and that was the part awareness played through me, and there was nothing personal involved. It was like a tree becoming a tree, or a flower blooming. It was just the natural way of things. It was, as they say in Zen Buddhism, nothing special. It was nothing out of the ordinary. It was just the way of things. It was like tuning into the harmony of the universe. And when you are tuned, when you're listening to, what does it mean that I'm a political entity? What does it mean that I'm a social entity? What does it mean that I'm a religious entity? What does it mean that I'm a sexual entity? What does it mean that I'm a cultural entity? What does it mean that I'm a sexual entity? I'm a biotic community entity. hearing the nature, how freedom comes through the investing in form. Freedom through form. Statement in the Heart Sutra, form is no other than emptiness, emptiness no other than form. The art is not to deny form in order to grab at emptiness, but to have the emptiness and fulfill the form. And when you quiet down enough and listen in your own life to hear your unique manifestation, and you're really quiet, you get through the obsession with individualism that you had as an ego in our culture at this moment. And you realize you are part of systems. You're part of family, you're part of all of these different communities, ethnic groups, all of this stuff. And then you bring to that, with your awareness, the listening to hear how you manifest within that system in a way that is not with attraction and not with aversion, but really playing your part. Playing your part. Dancing the dance. So I listen and I hear I have certain skills. I have certain connections, so I have certain opportunities to talk to certain people. Those things, when I listen to hear, how will I manifest, say, in the political field? I hear, well, there are these opportunities, there is this skill. When as I listen, that comes through, and I can say to somebody, or whatever, and enter into my way of being a political person. And in the same way, I'm part of the economic systems of the physical plane. What kind of, how can I honor the economics of it? Not by putting it down, even though it traps most people. And not by elevating it to worship, as most people also do. If you look at the dollar bill and that wonderful pyramid that the Masons have on there, with the top of the eye separated from the rest of it, you understand that all of the solidity of the whole system only works when it is in connection with the eye of God, the eye of the One, the balance to another plane. That's a perfect description of plane of consciousness on every dollar bill. And when I listen, I say, well, what have I got to contribute? What kind of a bargain should I make about money, about ego? To fulfill it, should I amass a lot of money and give it away? Or hold it, or spend it? There's no rule in the book about what you do. Each person has to listen to hear. I mean, I deal with people that have hardly anything. They are way below the poverty level, and they are at peace. I know people like that. In India, I certainly know people like that. I know people who are so wealthy they are on the Fortune 500 wealthiest people in America. And often some of them are happy, some of them aren't. But often they are more trapped by money than the people who don't have it. And then many times the people who don't have it are obsessed with it. And the people who have some are afraid they're going to lose it. Or they won't have enough. And the amount of consciousness caught in the domain of economics is amazing. And I found myself working with the business community because I looked around and I said, what I have to share is Dharma. What I've learned, what I've been doing for the past 25, 30 years. What is that? Since business is the major social institution in the world at the moment, it's more powerful than nation states, more powerful than religions. Can I play with the beast? So I got involved with business people. And I started to hang out in a group called the Social Venture Network. They're easy business people to be with. They're all people like Ben and Jerry. Reebok and the Levi's, people that are good guys, good persons in business. But the conspiracy within business business as a certain way that it has to be. This is all ego level. It's very interesting when you're in India and you meet somebody who does business as Dharma. And you understand there is an incredible thing for the West to learn about business, about how you do business as Dharma. It's the same way as how you raise a child as Dharma. It's the same way as how you make love as Dharma. It's the same way as how you do any relationship in terms of Dharma. Dharma meaning, how can you be in this form in a way that does not create suffering, in a way that liberates? How can I act in a way that does not exacerbate suffering? That seems very logical to me, even to my mind. You are a karmic entity.